Good day, YouTubers. I'm Mike, and welcome to my backyard garden. Today we're going to talk about tomatoes, growing tomatoes, how to best determine the best type of tomato for your garden, as well as challenges that you'll endure or may endure during the growing season, such as diseases, insects, root challenges, etc. So what you're looking at are some beefsteak tomatoes. I will probably leave one or two in there. One's going to come out and get transplanted to a different container. But these beefsteak tomatoes are indeterminate tomatoes. And indeterminate tomatoes are the type of tomatoes that get viney, will grow very tall. They will need staking, trellising, staking as they grow because they do get so tall. Now they will keep growing until they get the first frosting. Frost will kill it off. Determinate tomatoes, which I am not growing this season, are your bush type tomatoes that do very well in container plantings because they do not necessarily need staking or trellising. Let's talk about nutrients that you'll need to get the best bounty from your tomato plants this growing season. You want a nice soil mixture that allows aeration so the roots can get their oxygen, as well as some nutrients in there, whether you have your own natural compost, what have you. The big challenges I've found people have growing tomatoes is end blossom rot. And end blossom rot is when you have a nice looking tomato, not quite ripe yet, or maybe it is looking ripe, and on the bottom is this huge brown rotten looking spot. And that is from a calcium deficiency. And what I do is I put some bone meal in the soil when I plant them, and I will add every other week for about 6 weeks, every other week, another quarter cup to this size container. Again, this is a 15-gallon container. And the bone meal will ensure that you have enough calcium to grow your fruit without end blossom rot. Now, I recommend Espoma brand, ESPOMA, organic bone meal. Now, what I like about this, it has plenty of calcium, but has a lot of phosphorus and some nitrogen as well. Now, the phosphorus is what your plant needs to develop flowers and fruit. So it's got your calcium, it's got your phosphorus and nitrogen. It's got what you need to assist in your organic growing. Next, what also happens is blight. Especially if you're east of the Mississippi, blight is a problem in tomato growing. You got early blight, mid-season blight, late blight. It's a fungus. It breeds and grows in the soil. It gets on your leaves and attacks your leaves and will destroy and kill your plant if not controlled properly. Now, the best way to do that, I found, is with a organic sulfur fungicide. And I would recommend Bonide brand, B-O-N as in Nancy, I-D-E, Bonide sulfur plant fungicide. It is organic, made for organic gardening, and this will reduce the odds and severity of any blight that might develop in your garden. Now, also to help reduce the blight after applying the fungicide to your soil, again, you want to apply it to the soil, not your plants. It is a powder form fungicide. And what you want to do is then cover the topsoil with mulch. The mulch will, again, it's multi-purpose. It helps retain moisture in your soil. It helps keep your weeds at bay and out of your soil. And it will also keep any of those fungi spores from the blight reaching your leaves and your plant. Another challenge to tomato growing are leaf miners. Here's a start on this little guy here. If you can see the leaf right there, you see those white squiggly lines? That is a leaf miner. And a leaf miner isn't terrible. They won't necessarily destroy your crop, but they can inhibit leaf growth by eating. And it's a larvae of some small flies that lay eggs on the underside of your leaf. I attack this by just snipping off the small part of leaf that's been infected with a leaf miner larvae, and I just throw it away from my compost or anywhere else. Let's talk about nutrients for your tomatoes. If you're going organically, keep doing what you're doing. You want a nice compost derived of different clippings and cuttings and such of vegetation. I'm going to do two things this year. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. I'm going to grow some of these beefsteak tomatoes organically. What I've got is I got a fish aquarium in my house. I change out the water weekly. I'm going to use that water as well as my son's girlfriend, Corina. She has some guinea pigs, and she's been giving me, when she cleans out the cage weekly, she's been giving me the manure from the guinea pigs, which is much like using rabbit manure, which is very good fertilizer to grow organically. So I got a combination of the droppings from the guinea pigs, the dirty water from the fish aquarium. I mix them together till it dissolves the solids, and then it becomes a tea-like formula. And I'll pour that into one of the containers of tomatoes. Another container I'm going to grow with soil, I'm going to use liquid nutrients. And I use, in the early stages of growth, I'm going to use what is a vegetative formula, which is high in nitrogen with smaller amounts of phosphorus and potassium. Those three are the basics of plant growth: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And then as we get flowering, some small fruits going on, I'm going to change over to a blooming fruiting formula, which is lower in nitrogen, because we don't want as much leaf growth during this stage. We want to put the focus of the plant's growth into developing flowers and fruits. So it's going to be higher in phosphorus, lower in, which is really boosts the growth of your flowers and your fruits, and has potassium as well. And we'll see how that goes side-by-side comparison. That should be fun. Hey, Bart. Hey, Bart. Also, I want to do a comparison of beefsteak tomatoes in the hydroponic table, and over here are the jelly bean hybrid tomatoes. I'm going to grow both in soil and hydroponically, and just see the results from both types of growing systems. That noise you hear is the hydroponic flood table draining. The pump has shut off. It's now draining out back into the reservoir down below, which is kind of cool. Anyway, this is Mike, hanging out in my back garden with you, and I appreciate if you like this content, to please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It is much appreciated and very helpful. Again, thanks for hanging out in my backyard garden.